All right, this is the Final Percent podcast, and we are having some fun up in Canada. Yes, I'm in Canada hanging out with the Coffins, helping out Marta Management. Those are members of our mastermind and members of our Facebook group. And if you have not joined our Facebook group, I want to make that invite right now. The Facebook group, just look it up and look up the Final Percent Network. The Final Percent Network is our Facebook group, and that's just kind of our hub, our community hub. No, it's not a giant pitch fest. No, it's not this. It's literally just real people. There's a few hundred of us in there, and we're just talking about ways to get better, talking about ways to engage, ways to, different technologies that we've found out. There's, I'm sure there's talks about Chat GPT, which has been happening, but it is kind of the hub that all the spokes of this wheel called TFP is tied to, so that we can stay connected, so that we can talk about upcoming events, so that we can hang out. So what I want you to do is write this down. I want you to join our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. Again, it is the Final Percent Network in the Facebook group. So just go to your Facebook, open up groups, search the Final Percent Network, click join, agrees to our rules, or I want you to agree to our rules, which basically means be nice. We're not going to get into, who's better, Batman or Superman, because everyone knows Superman's better. We don't have to have those kinds of conversations. Okay, all right, that was a bad example. But we're not going to get into, debates about the political climate or religious climate. We're very inclusive, and we just want people to win. We want people to be nice. We want people to engage in thoughtful, compassionate conversation so that we can move every single person forward in the group. So that's, my shameless plug. I'm going to actually PS it with one other shameless plug. And that's because if you're listening to this, maybe you don't want to join the Facebook group. And I get it. I'm just going to keep, nudging you, and hopefully I can see you there someday because I want to engage with you at a deeper level. However, if you are listening to this podcast, that means you have already heard it. Maybe this is your first time, and maybe this is too quick of an ask, and you're like, it's one of these people. In that case, go back a few episodes and recognize that I do not ask this very often. My other ask is, would you please just give a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to this? If it's Apple, give a 5-star review, type in a nice little thing, or, whatever it is. Where you might be listening to it on Audible, you might be listening to it somewhere else. And I know that, this guy opened up a podcast with a bunch of asks. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about data, guys, because, I don't know if you know this, but data is important in business. And you know what? Not all podcasts, some of my podcasts are actually incredibly good to where people get all the way to the end. Some of them, they listen to a couple minutes. So you know what? I said, I'm going to take the first couple minutes and I'm just going to give people a couple little asks and hopefully they'll do it. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's too much to ask if I've been providing value. If you're here, come hang out with us on a deeper level in our Facebook group, and also just give us a 5-star review wherever you listen, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Apple, whether it's, I think we're on Spotify, everywhere you listen to a podcast, wherever it is. Just go there, give us a 5-star review, because it really, really, really helps. And here's what I'm going to say. Even if you think it's a 4-star, just give us a 5-star. You want to know why I'm asking you to do that? Because it would really mean a lot to me, and I promise you, I'm a little bit like Novocaine. So if I don't really land the first episode, maybe I don't even land the second not even the third episode. I'm not landing. But boy, that fourth episode, I'm like Novocaine. Sooner or later, if you keep listening, I work, you get me. We are going to lock arms, we're going to have fun, and we're going to go the final percent together. So I'm just saying, give it a chance, and let's rock and roll. So with that being said, let's jump into this podcast. What is this podcast about? This podcast is about collaboration. Collaboration is the competitive advantage to human beings. Collaboration is being around people who take you to the next level. And I can honestly tell you, with me going through, businesses, with me hanging out at conferences, with me being asked to speak, with me, being around, sometimes, man, I get into rooms where I'm looking around and in my head, I'm thinking, how in the world did I get in this room? I don't deserve to be in this room. I'm not good enough to be in this room. But then I remember, look, I'm here for a reason. Someone saw something in me to invite me here. And maybe they are further down the road. And maybe they understand me and where I'm going, maybe even better than I do. And so what I have to do is I have to take enough time to figure out what exactly did they see in me on why I should be here. I have to be able to contribute something. They saw something for me to contribute. And that's the big thing. All collaboration doesn't necessarily need to be equal. All collaboration, sometimes it's just a spark. But collaboration, I truly believe, is the competitive advantage for humanity. A good friend of mine, I started off doing songwriting and singing, and I'll be the first person to tell you, I'm not the best songwriter. Now, I'm not saying I can't write a good song. I'm not saying that I don't write good songs. I'm just saying I am not the best because my good friend, Andre Jones, I call him Hollywood. He is one of the best songwriters that I have ever experienced. And honestly, here's like the little nugget that I think is good for everybody to know. I would get insecure anytime we would write music together. I would get insecure and I'd sit here and be like, man, I don't even want to try an idea because I feel like all my ideas are dumb compared to him. And we're writing and we're singing and we're trying out melodies, but he could tell that I'm kind of reserved. And pretty soon he asked me one night, he goes, dude, what's going on, man? You're not really yourself. And I went, what are you talking about, man? So I'm thinking, man, I must extra suck, And he said, well, you're not, it just doesn't seem like no offense, you're not really bringing any ideas to the table. I said, and so I just finally spilled the beans. I said, look, man, I respect you so much, and I've always loved your writing, and I've loved your musical ideas. And so I'm like, I'm intimidated to even try things in front of you. And he went, what? And I said, yeah, man, I don't even want to put something out in front of you because I don't know how it's going to land. I think anything I say, you're going to be like, God, why am I even doing music with this guy? And he told me something that I'm never going to forget. He said, Greg, I'm not going to lie. I've noticed that I drive the bus a little bit more when we're writing songs together. However, you are what I like to call a spark. And I went, a spark? And he goes, yeah, dude, sometimes like I just don't have it, or I'm going down the wrong path, and you will spark something inside of me. And you'll spark something that takes my game to a completely different level. And you will spark an idea, spark a melodic idea, spark a drum beat, spark this, that, or the other. And honestly, I love writing with you because, man, when those sparks happen, man, sparks fly. And then we got a fire before we know it. And I realized that I'm over here thinking that I'm so inadequate, that I'm not enough. But how often are people doing that, myself included, in business? They're walking into rooms going, why am I even here? I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough to be here. But what happens? You get an idea that sparks something inside of you, or you spark something inside of someone else, and you find your future wife. You find your future business partner. You find the money that you needed. But you had to get into action. You had to open up, and you had to stop that insecurity. Because here's the thing, partnerships, not all partnerships are created equal. Not all partnerships are something that need to be a 50-50 thing. I say often that there are 3 kinds of people in your life. Three kinds of people. You got people who usually need to get out of your life. These are the people who always want to drink. These are the people who are trying to pull you off your game. These are the people who talk bad about you behind your back. These are the people who take advantage of you. These are the people who are racist. These are the people who are demeaning. You need to separate yourself from these people. Why? Because you are a product of what goes into your ears, into your eyes, and what you are around. You are a product, and you are not meant to save those people. You are meant to show those people an example, and sometimes the example that you need to set is that behavior is not tolerated. So as we move through life, we need to understand partnerships don't need to be 50-50. But every person we're interacting with, we are partnering in some way. So if you can get to a situation to where you know that you are needed and necessary, you know you have something to, and listen to this word, listen to me. Listen to this word right now, contribution. If you focus on what can I contribute, if you focus on where is my contribution, if you focus on where am I needed and necessary, even if it's at the smallest level. I'm talking about right now, you're standing in a room that needs to raise a bunch of money, and it's one of those charity auctions, and everyone's $50,000 this, $60,000 that, $100 million with the pinky up to the mouth, of course. And maybe you're sitting here like, what the heck is my $500 going to do? But that's basically what my family is able to do. I'm telling you, do the $500. Go up to it and just say, hey, I want to make a donation. I want to make an anonymous donation. I have a friend, and this is when I really learned about real giving. Because right now, people these days, they go, I want to contribute, and I want this, and I'm going to make a for-purpose business. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But they always talk about it. And I'm like, in my head, I go, well, I wonder if they really do it. And what I've learned, it's about 50-50. Half of them really do it, and half of them just talk about it. But here's where the real game changers are the people who don't need that recognition. I have a friend of mine who went up and he said, hey, I need to make and I'm hanging out with him. I don't know what's about to happen. But in my mind, I was super pumped because check this out. This was the first time I was going to donate randomly. Hanging out with my buddy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to donate $1,250. I'm not going to lie. I felt freaking awesome about myself. Awesome. And then here's what happened. I go, I'm gonna donate this $1,250. And man, I put my pinky up to my mouth. And I even said, I had the audacity to say, this was about 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And I said, so like, on the board of, or on the list of donors and stuff, can I get my name up there? And then I looked, it said minimum contribution, $5,000. So immediately I said, well, maybe I can do $5,000. Maybe I can do $5,000. I could probably do $5,000. Do I have $5,000? So I'm like pulling out my phone kind of low key, like logging in, seeing if I can do it. And then right then, while I'm figuring this out, this is a really important moment in my life. While I'm figuring this out, my buddy, he says, yeah, I want to make an anonymous donation. They say, okay, how much? He goes, I want to do $1 million. And they go, excuse me? He says, yeah, I need to do $1 million. Well, sir, I mean, you would be in the top, I think it was top 5 donors. I mean, it's like the who's who of this, that, and the other. And he goes, no, I don't need my name up there. I don't want my name up there. I don't care about my name up there. I just want to make a difference. And I went, in that moment, I just remember come to think of it, my jaw actually probably was dropped. I was going to say it was just like the jaw of my mind was dropped, but I'll tell you, my jaw probably was actually dropped and my mind was blown. So a couple things happened. I did do the $1,250. And I did it as anonymous. And I just joined my friend's example. And there are so many people who are using the guise of donations and for-purpose profits to actually kind of hoodwink people, to be honest with you, because they're like, oh, well, it's this, and he does this, and he does that. It's kind of like saying, oh, well, that person's a pastor, so they can do no wrong. There's a whole science behind people who do things like that. So I'm just telling you right now, be very careful about what's going on and do things for the right reasons. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want the tax write-off and you think it's also basically an advertisement, it's going to be up there and it drives business, by all means, put your name up there. But actually listen to your heart. Actually listen to your brain. Because here's the thing. You can spark something inside of you, because maybe your employees seeing you give like that is a good thing. Maybe your friend seeing you give like that is going to change his entire life, which my friend did for me. But every time you're in a room, there's nothing too small. Just all I'm saying is do whatever you can do. Just because you can't do what your friend can do, that means there's 10,000 people who can't necessarily do what you can do. But if those 10,000 people said, hey, we'll do $1, they can actually do more than you can do. But you just got to set that example. So let's be the spark. Let's be the spark that, let's say it like this. Let's be the spark that brings compassion out of the dark. Let's be the spark that brings love out of the dark. Let's be the spark that brings understanding out of the dark. But there's darkness somewhere in your life. And it's time for you to be the spark. It's time for you to be unwavering in your principles and your values. And it is time for you to be the spark to change your stars. I just wrote a song called War. And if you're listening to the podcast, you know that WAR is actually an acronym for me. WAR stands for Wise Actions Repeated. But I was writing this song when we watched the movie A Knight's Tale. Now, if you haven't seen the movie A Knight's Tale, I want you to go watch it, because this movie is one of those things that changed my stars. The reason why I say that is because it's about a peasant who becomes a knight. He becomes noble. And his dad always told the boy, a man can change his stars. And he kept saying it throughout the movie, a man can change his stars. But he just needed a spark. He just needed that one little spark to say, no, I am noble in who I am and what I do. And I'm telling you, every single person can change their stars. But it starts with a spark. It starts with a little bit of belief, and it starts with being around the right people. So go find something that you can be the spark today. Go be a spark for someone. Be a spark for your family, a spark for your spouse, a spark for your daughter, a spark for your son, a spark for your employees, your community. Be a spark that brings something of value out of the dark. In a world full of darkness, we need more sparks. Be the spark today, guys. This has been the Final Percent Podcast.